Okay, I'm getting ready to finish sanding these. I already hit them once with a 120 grit, and now I'm going to use a 150 grit. Okay, and I have my dust collector. You see right here, it's a fine, F-E-I-N, it's a fine vacuum. I have 3 of these, and all 3 of them have had something happen to them where the motor is now screaming. They used to be very, very quiet. I love the vacuums. They have 5 wheels. They roll, they never tip over, they're very quiet. They're great machines, all right? But the problem with them, there's something goes wrong with the bearings or something after a few years, and it does not affect the vacuum power. It sucks. But no, technically it still vacuums very well. It's a great dust collector, albeit the motor is loud as hell. I have researched, I want to say I paid between $400 and $500 each for the 2 smaller vacuums, and I have a larger one that was maybe $600, which is maybe a little bit cheaper than the Festool dust collectors. And anyway, I don't want to spend $500 or $600 or more to replace the dust collectors. Whether I replace it with another fine, or if I go with the Mercury, or if I go with the Festool, which are the 3 that I would buy if I was buying another one. They're all about the same cost. I think the Festool's maybe 50 bucks higher than the other ones. But what I'm going to do, I Googled online. I found out that I could replace the motor, and it's the same motor in all 3 of my dust collectors. There's an outfit that makes, I don't know if they make the original ones for this, but it's definitely an exact replacement for it. And they're about 150, 160 bucks. I just haven't had a chance. What I have to do, I have to take the head apart and get a number off of the motor itself. I just want to double check to make sure I'm ordering the right motor, because you check out the motors on these, there's like 100 different, they all look exactly the same, but there's a little bit differences in them. So at any rate, yeah, the point I'm making right now, you're not going to hear, when I turn that thing on, it sounds like a jet aircraft, all right? So I'm going to get that fixed down the road, and what I'll do, if you can hear me, if you can't hear me, I'm probably just going to fast forward through this when I put it up on the video and just play some music on it, all right? But yeah, listen to how loud this is. That's bad bearing. Just shut that fan off now, because I want to make a point here. A while back in one of my other videos, I had been doing some sanding with this sander, and one of the subscribers wrote in. He thought I was going too fast, and he had a question about the speed that I was sanding, and it looked like in the video that I was going like this. I had speeded the video up either 4x or 8x. I forget which, but he had a good point. You do not want to go too fast with it, because you'll actually make stripes with the unit, all right? By the way, these are not spinning like 1,000 RPM or anything like that. They're actually oscillating as they go around. They're not doing a complete perfect circle. They're like shaking as they go around. That's what it's called, oscillating. And that's what gets rid of the swirl marks. And I'm not sure if I made a point of it in one of the videos. The sander cost about $600. In fact, it costs $600, $599 for this sander, all right? Yeah, I shut the fan off and I'm already sweating. It's 94 degrees inside my shop. It's 97 outside today. At any rate, this sander cost, it's a Merca D-Rose, D-E-R-O-S 550X. It costs $599 here in the States, all right? This is the 5-inch. They also have a 6-inch. The 6-inch is better for larger panels, but I also use this on my frames and door parts and all, so I feel the 5-inch is more versatile than the 6-inch, all right? And the point to that, the 6-inch costs, I think, a little bit more money. So yeah, this is very expensive. I could have bought, you get these at home. These are the rigid. They sell them at Home Depot. They are an excellent sand. They work very well and all. But the problem with them, I don't really, I see a little bit of swirling, but not really much. But they're very, very extremely heavy. And after about 20 minutes or so using them, I'm getting a tingle. My hand starts to cramp up a little bit, and I get tingling. It affects the nerves in your hands. So if you have to sand for more than 10 or 15 minutes at a time, you have to take a break using that sander or others. That's like 70 bucks at Home Depot. I have some sanders, my Bosch sanders, which are industrial rated. They're about $150, $170, somewhere in that price bracket. There's a little bit less vibration in those. I can sand, but the same thing happens just maybe after a half hour or more, where these in 20 minutes I'm starting to. So if you've got to do a lot of panels, you're going to be all day or half a day. This thing is just, it's super light. It doesn't weigh anything at all. It has a great ergonomic feel to it. I can hold it with no problem at all. Basically, I can almost just hold the hose here and let it go. All right, but you need to be able to keep the paddle on. It does not have a lock trigger. There's a plus minus here. I can regulate the speed. I can slow it down or speed it up. Okay, and when I do fine sanding, I usually have it at its highest speed. All right, so but I love this sander. All right, but getting back to my original point here, the speed that you just saw me sanding this panel, that's the speed that you want to go, and you want to overlap. You don't want to come down and come back. Kind of like when you're painting with a roller, you know how you overlap about a quarter of the roller pad? You do the same thing. Every time you move, you come down, you come up. You don't move 5 inches over, you move about 4 inches over, so you have at least 1 inch overlap all the time. This will ensure that you don't see any striping, all right? Now, I had already done this with a 120 grit with the light on here. You see up right there? I shine it across here, all right? And that showed up any scratches or anything like that, which I had already taken out when I had the 120 grit. It's very bright, but so at any rate, that ensured that I've got a perfect surface, no nicks or scratches or anything, which I wouldn't notice with overhead light, all right? But I don't need it when I come back with the 150 grit, all right? So I just left it off because the light is kind of really bright in my eyes, so I just assume not use it if I don't need it. And to follow up with the 150 grit, 150 grit is a perfect grit for prepping before I spray my lacquer. It's fine enough that I get a really smooth finish, but it's still just a little bit coarse enough that the lacquer gets to bite into the wood. If you gloss the wood, or if you go up to a 220 or a 240 or higher, what happens, the wood gets very glossy and your lacquer doesn't bite in quite as much as I would like it to. Again, it depends on the wood. This is maple, all right? Maple is a hardwood. It's not very porous at all, so if you go higher than a 150, if you go to a 180 or a 200, 220 grit or a 240 even, It's really too fine. It's actually polishing the wood, and then your lacquer won't get the proper adhesion, all right? So your sealer coats, all right? I put my sealer coats, they bite nicely into the 150 scratch pattern that I put down, and then I sand that with a anywhere from a 240 to a 360 or a 400 grit paper, the sanding sealers. And then the finish coats bite into that very well. So, but your initial primer coats, you want to have a scratch pattern of about a 120 to 150 grit for most woods. Soft woods, you could go up pine if you're doing pine, or cedar especially, or something. You could go up a little higher to a 180 or something. The soft woods will grab. You'll get a better bite on your sealer. But hardwoods like maple and birch and all, yes, you want to. You don't want to go over a 150 grit, all right? Okay, so that's it. Now I gotta blow these off, and then we'll get it. Where the hose connection is, it swivels on there. So that makes it a little easier to work. Some machines, once you put a hose in, it's locked right there. So as the hose flexes, it's making the unit go, you know what I mean? So having that flex like that, being able to spin in there, that's another small detail that Mercer's engineers, they look really thoroughly into this. Mercer's been making sanding equipment for many, many years now. They kind of like wrote the book on these things. So. But don't tell anybody. I'm not using Mercer. I had a salesman, come into the shop next door, and well, he came here after being next door, and he said that my buddy next door, Roger, who runs his own shop, had tried some of his sanding discs, and he loved them. So I went over and I talked to Roger, and he said, they've been working great, Mike, you should give them a shot. So these are not like the Abranet. They're, in other words, they're not a mesh disc, they're a conventional disc. But I said, I'll give it a try. I wasn't sure how much it cost, but the Mercer discs like this are, I want to say I was paying it's $15, $18 maybe a box. There's 50 discs in a box, by the way. And the Mercer are somewhere between $15 and $18. These were, I want to say, $11 a box. So I said, what the heck? The salesman left me probably a dozen of each grit, from an 80 grit or 60 grit all the way up to a 320 grit. So of course, the following weeks, maybe 2 or 3 weeks after he stopped in, I tried them out, and I have to admit, they're very, very good, all right? If you've got something that makes a lot of dust, they're not as good as the Abranet, which are a screen mesh. Underneath here, the Mercer, you see how many holes they have? So if you're using the mesh discs, I can find one. This is what I mean by a mesh disc. So you can see through it. It's like a screen, all right? So when you put that, you don't have to worry about aligning any holes with a hole pattern, because the entire disc is a hole. So you're taking advantage of all these, you know, they make a lot of holes on here. And it was geared really for the mesh disc, but my other sanders are all an 8-hole pattern, 5-inch 8-hole pattern. But at any rate, I was able to get it with an 8-hole, so I was able to continue using all my old discs. So I thought I'd give it a shot. So what I did, I tried not every one of the discs, but I did put them through some heavy testing. All right, and I felt they were every bit as good as the Mercer discs like this, all right? So I got 25 boxes of 50 each, and they were, like I said, I think they were around $11 a piece. And because it went over, I think $200 or whatever it was, there was free shipping on it. So, and they were here the next day. The salesman took the order. I called him on the phone. I said, Dad, send me down 5 of each, 5 different grits. UPS pulled in here the next day, and they had the box. And I've gone through 120s and 150s. I've gone through 1 or 2 boxes of these, and I find them to be really, really decent. So, yes, I'm saving money over the Merca discs. My fine stuff, I'll still use this. I'm not seeing any swirl marks. That was my concern. I felt the machine is capable of giving me a swirl-free finish because I was getting it with these, and I wasn't seeing it with the Merca traditional discs. So that's what I was looking for. There's 2 things I was looking for. I don't want them to leave those little swirl pigtails, all right? They weren't doing that, and I wanted to know that it was going to last quite a while. A lot of these no-name brand discs that are out there that cost $10 or less a box of 50 or so, they work good, but they break down very rapidly. And the problem with that is not so much that the discs wear out. As they wear out, the pieces of the grit are actually coming off the disc. These, they don't come off. They have a lot of sharp edges, and as the edges get worn down, new edges are being introduced because each piece of grit is kind of like a diamond with a lot of facets on it. So as it smooths down, it's introducing more little crooks and crannies, or points, valleys, whatever. I hope you understand what I'm saying. So at any rate, pass the test with flying colors. So yes.